All right, guys, so here we are, round 3, board 11. What happened?
Well, it's probably best if I talk about the West and then let Grant talk about the East.
Okay, what happened here in the West?
Well, first of all, I sprung out to a pretty large England very quickly. Russia, we did the RE thing in the north where you don't do much up there, and that gives you both a lot of tempo in your other arena, so took the offers and then decided to gank back shields. It was pretty good. I was in Kiel in Denmark by 02.
Wow.
Yeah, which when it goes well, that's pretty much how it goes. If you can get Belgium in A1, which I did. So Christian just full on decided to go south, which was awesome, but I didn't think he moved wonderfully. I think there was an opportunity for him to get Tunis, which he didn't.
Yeah.
So as a result, he was slowed down. So actually in 02, I was on 8 and he had to disband.
Ouch.
So that sowed the seeds of distrust. So I kept going, I was motoring, I was in Moscow by 04, which is pretty much when you decide you're going to stab France, right? So it's just going. I just never quite had enough material to turn around and hit Christian at the same time, because he actually hadn't pushed that far forward really in many ways. So ultimately, Christian stabbed me first. Yeah, which was good, was well executed. Just a turn before I could do it really, and took one off me, went up to 7, and then just basically said I'm going to be the balance of power. Stepped back, allowed Grant to take all this, and settled for a kind of pop.
All right.
So that was kind of my game.
Okay.
Maybe I could have stabbed it earlier, but I just didn't have that much material, given that I was racing into Moscow. So
sure.
I don't know. Maybe I could have built an extra fleet rather than I'm having to have one too many armies. But the trouble is, when I build a fleet, Christian's like, "Ooh, why do you do a fleet?" It's done.
Yeah, exactly.
The nearest fleet to me is bow, and then it's all these. So,
yeah. All right. Well, what happened on the other side of the board?
What is it? I started off, won Bulgaria in 1901. Austria opened in 1901 spring to Romania, and in the fall he supported a French army into Greece.
I'm sorry, Italian.
Sorry, Italian army into Greece. So basically I stayed on 4 centres, I would say, guys, for about 6 turns. At the same time I was allied with Russia, and we basically took out the eastern side of Austria. Russia got up to 8 centres almost. 8 centres, yeah. And we were working really, really well together. At the same time, Austria was down to 1. We were working on Italy. And eventually it just came to the stage there where Austria was in Rome, his final centre, went for Trieste, owned Venice for a turn, and then he was in Rome. Italy had 4 fleets, and we just ended up just taking them out. Once we were over this part of the board, there was no reason really to keep the centres there. I was pretty proud because I was quite honest with Russia throughout the whole game, and I was sitting right around him, and he didn't take any of the centres until it sort of came to the time to do that. So that was really, didn't sound really nice.
I'm proud that I didn't jack him earlier.
I held off, I was so tempted, and didn't do it. But it sort of came to the end of the game where if either one of us tried to take centres off France, he was going to throw a solo to the other person. So at that stage, it was pretty much draw. So
there you go. I have to say, Christian, that sounds like you had a tough row to hoe there to have to decide to hold balance of power and keep either of them from getting the solo.
It was pretty fun near the end because of that. Dan's right. I did not commit enough into the south early, which slowed me down. And at that point, I looked and said, I'm not going to drive a good result in this game, and need to kind of spice it up a little bit. Dan had massive momentum happening on the continent.
Yeah. What did you stab? What did you stab him for? Just like Belgium?
I didn't really stab him for a dot. I just repositioned, and eventually, and there was some Russian units in the center. We were able to reposition, and we got him into Berlin, and I held Munich. I moved out of Munich and got him a dot. And then that was enough, basically, particularly with Grant growing, where Dan said, okay, we've had enough fun, and let's get serious about doing the line. At that point, I became fairly essential. And then at the end of the day, the dots for both of them to achieve 18 was Iberia, and I felt I could play either side.
Sure. And this was your 4th game of diplomacy ever? How did you feel about it? This is a tough board.
Lasted the longest.
Yeah,
It's my
right.
record.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's a medal for that. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I had a great time. I think I had a good alliance with Turkey, and we weren't disingenuous with each other when the time came. I could see the writing on the wall after England just
rolled
wasn't even
like a knife
gentle
through butter.
stab,
Yeah.
just a halberd. So when that happened, I'm like, okay, the sun's setting on this alliance. But we had a few good years after that, and he wasn't disingenuous, and we just shook hands and agreed. I'm like, I'm flipping because I just want to survive for another.
Right. Yep. However long.
I really appreciate it, mate. That means. It's like, I knew it was happening. As soon as you said to me, oh, look, I'm flipping, I knew that. But it's seldom that you get someone that comes and actually says that to you on the board. You know it's happening because all of a sudden they're not talking to you anymore and they're off over in the corner with the other group. It was really
sure.
great. You came over and took me by the hand and said, this is how I've had an awesome day. This has been great. But I'm not working with you.
That's awesome, man. Seriously.
Well, Emma had someone actually do that.
Oh, cool.
So,
Well, it was great to spend that amount of time in the game because I
Right.
learned a lot. I learned a lot from Grant, and I learned a lot watching Dan and Christian jockey around. So just being part of the board, I think, was the victory for me.
Okay.
And just experiencing, because these guys are playing at a level that I can't fathom. So it's nice to see the thinking that goes on and feel like you still have a role to play. So yeah, I had a great time.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much. Good luck for the rest of the weekend.
I wasn't on this board.